Draft Double Taxation Relief and International Tax Enforcement, Belarus Revocation Order 2025.
Is it the wish of the committee that the instruments are debated together?
Aye. Yes.
In that case, I will now call the Minister to move the first motion and speak to both instruments. And at the end of the debate, I will put the question on the first motion and then ask the Minister to move the second motion formally. I call the Minister to move the first motion. James Murray.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Huck, and it's a pleasure to serve on this committee with you as Chair. I beg to move that the committee considers the Double Taxation Relief and International Tax Enforcement Belarus Revocation Order 2025 and the Double Taxation Relief Russian Federation Revocation Order 2025. These orders before the committee today give effect to the suspension of the 2018 UK-Belarus and the 1994 UK-Russia Double Taxation Conventions in UK law. The orders revoke the earlier legislation that previously gave effect to the treaties in UK law, and so the effect of the orders is that UK tax law will apply as if there were no treaty in place for those countries from the new tax years beginning on April the 1st for corporation tax and April the 6th for income tax and capital gains, and for equivalent taxes in Russia and Belarus. The UK will tax UK-sourced income and gains without reference to the limits agreed in the treaty. Now, unilateral relief is available for UK domestic law to UK resident taxpayers, which means that where a UK resident taxpayer has foreign tax, credit is available for the foreign tax already paid. This provides protection to UK resident taxpayers against the harmful effects of double taxation, and the rules apply wherever income or gains are not covered by a double taxation convention. However, benefits will no longer be available to residents of Russia or Belarus. The UK has decided to suspend these treaties in response to the actions of Russia and Belarus. They have not been honouring their obligations under these conventions for some time. In August 2023, Russia partially suspended its tax treaties with 38 countries, including the UK and other G7 countries which it termed unfriendly. Russia left in place only definitional and some administrative provisions, suspending all the provisions concerning taxation of income, including those which contain limits on what can be taxed at source. In March 2024, Belarus took similar action to Russia in relation to 27 countries, including the UK. It partially suspended the treaties, including the UK-Belarus Treaty. Belarus suspended articles dealing with dividends, interest and capital gains, and then introduced higher rates of tax targeting foreigners in its domestic law. Now, both Russia and Belarus have claimed that their action is in response to sanctions. Sanctions imposed on Russia and Belarus are a legitimate response to the illegal invasion of the sovereign nation of Ukraine. These sanctions are a reasonable and lawful response to Russian aggression and to Belarus's support and enabling of Russia's actions. Their action to suspend material provisions of our tax agreement is therefore totally unjustified in international law. Their actions are a material breach of the tax treaties that justify reciprocal action by the UK. And so, in line with international law, the UK wrote to Russia and Belarus in December, notifying them of our intention to suspend the treaties unless they remedied this material breach of the tax treaties within 3 months. Neither Russia nor Belarus has remedied their breach or returned to compliance. As a consequence, and in common with partner countries, the UK intends to suspend the tax treaties with Russia and Belarus unless they remedy their breach before the 3-month deadline expires on March the 24th for Russia and March the 23rd for Belarus. They have been given ample time and opportunity to rectify their breach. International law permits the UK to suspend the treaties in full. The UK has chosen this action as a proportionate response to Russia and Belarus violating their obligations under the terms of their treaties with the UK. If either country comes back into compliance with its treaty obligations and remedies the material breaches, the UK can take steps internationally and domestically to give effect to the treaty again. But until such time, the UK will apply domestic tax law without granting any of the limits agreed in the tax treaties in relation to payment of dividends, interest and royalties, and other types of income or capital gains arising in the UK. Dr. Huck, the UK is acting in lockstep with partners, including other G7 countries, ever since Russia and then Belarus unlawfully suspended provisions of the tax treaties. Countries including the US, Canada, France and Germany have also suspended their tax treaties with Russia. Other partner countries have suspended their tax treaties with Belarus. In summary, these orders give effect to the decision of the government to suspend the UK's double taxation conventions with Russia and with Belarus in response to their material breach of treaty obligations. This means that Russian and Belarusian taxpayers will no longer be entitled to receive treaty benefits in UK law in circumstances where those countries have withdrawn benefits from UK resident taxpayers. UK tax law will apply from April, as though there is no tax treaty in place with either Russia or Belarus, and I commend these orders to the committee.
The question is that the committee has considered the draft double taxation relief and international tax enforcement Belarus Revocation Order 2025. I call Shadow Minister Gareth Davies.
Got the right one, Dr. Hook. Great pleasure to see you in the chair, and like the hand gestures. And it's a great pleasure to see the Minister as well. It's been so long since we last saw each other. It must be at least 2 hours. So I'm very grateful to him for putting forward these two measures today, which we will now respond to. As the Minister has set out, these instruments revoke previous double taxation conventions with Belarus and with Russia. The Russians fell out of compliance with all material provisions of the convention with the UK in August 2023, with Belarus following in March 2024. The UK did not immediately accept the suspensions and urged both countries to reverse their decisions and return to compliance with the conventions. However, given the persistent refusal of the Russians and the Belarusians to comply with their international obligations, the UK has now rightly taken the decision to revoke both the 2018 and 1994 orders. I'm pleased to say that obviously His Majesty's opposition supports these measures taken in the statutory instruments. They are a proportionate and sensible step to take given the continuous breach of international obligations from the Russians and the Belarusians. The measures, of course, build on steps taken by the previous government in response to the invasion of Ukraine and the non-compliance with international obligations. We, for example, suspended tax cooperation with the Russians and Belarusians on the exchange and sharing of tax information all the way back in March 2022. So, of course, as I say, we support the measures today. But can I just end my remarks by asking for one small point of clarification on the detail? The Convention states that signatories must give 6 months' notice in order to terminate the agreement. Has the UK provided the notice, or did Russia's unilateral suspension of the Convention mean that such notice was no longer required? Thank you.
Do I see anyone else wishing to catch my eye? Clive Jones.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairship, Dr. Huck, and thank you to the Minister for your remarks. I just want to briefly set out the Lib Dem view on this statutory instrument. Revoking double taxation relief for Belarus and Russia is absolutely the right thing to do. They reneged on their treaty obligations with the UK in this matter, so it is only correct that we cancel their treaty. It is, however, a bit surprising and concerning that it's taken so long for the government to reach this decision. Russia suspended its implementation of the treaty in August 2023, so the previous Conservative government should also have acted with urgency to revoke the treaty in response, particularly in the wider context of Russia's illegal and brutal invasion of Ukraine, which is supported by Belarus. It's a mistake not to have acted sooner, but can we have assurances from the Minister that equivalent SIs will not take so long to be implemented under this government? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Huck, and I thank the honourable members on the other benches for their contributions and thoughts during this short but important debate. In an attempt to respond to some of the questions raised specifically by the Shadow Minister in the first instance, to clarify that this is not a termination of the treaties, rather a suspension under the Vienna Convention. Had we chosen to terminate, then this would have not have taken effect until at least 2026. And so a suspension is therefore a quicker and more effective way to ensure balance in our obligations. And to reiterate, as I made clear in my earlier remarks, the UK has acted in line with the majority of its allies, including the G7, in suspending these treaties. In response to the honourable gentleman's comments about the timetable that was taken in order to suspend these provisions, we believe, Dr. Huck, that the government has acted reasonably and responsibly to give time for the other countries to come back into compliance with their legal obligations and to act, therefore, consistently with other like-minded countries, but I nonetheless welcome his support for what we're seeking to achieve today. Because, Dr Huck, the orders before the committee today would give effect to the government's decision to suspend the double taxation conventions with Russia and with Belarus. This would prevent Russian and Belarusian residents from continuing to be entitled to benefits in circumstances where those countries do not grant benefit to UK taxpayers. I'm grateful to honourable members for their contributions and for the united front in this matter across the House.
The question is that the committee has considered the draft double taxation relief and international tax enforcement Belarus Revocation Order 2025. As many as are of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. I think the ayes have it.
Draft double taxation relief National Federation Revocation Order 2025.
So this is the second one. The question is that the committee has considered the draft double taxation relief Russian Federation Revocation Order 2025. As many as are of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. I think the ayes have it. Order, order.